Hello and welcome to the Solid Signal podcast for July 2nd, 2013. It's Independence Week, but we're still working as hard as possible to make sure you've got the coolest stuff and the best news. That's right, our Solid Signal blog team is on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, looking for the stuff that you need to know. I spent a lot of time this weekend with Microsoft's latest and greatest, or at least latest, operating system, Windows 8.1, or as I like to call it, Windows Apology Edition. If you read the Solid Signal blog, you know I'm no big fan of Windows 8. I think they really took a step in the wrong direction. Windows 8.1 fixes an awful lot of that. But what's more interesting is the spirit of apology that it adds. The spirit of, well, we know you actually have to get work done, and so we're going to give you a way to do that. See, there was a time when people couldn't wait to get the latest stuff that Microsoft was pushing out. It may seem strange today, but there was a time when Microsoft really ruled the world. When they had such a tight hold over the internet that the government actually stopped them from going as far as they wanted to go. When people just couldn't wait to see what was in the latest version of Windows. And when Microsoft entered a field, every competitor shuddered. There was a time when other companies ruled word processing. Microsoft jumped in. What other companies? Microsoft tried to jump back into that space by offering Windows 8, which was hopefully going to be the best tablet out there combined with the best desktop operating system, letting you take your apps from place to place without even having to worry about operating system compatibility. Well, let's say instead of being the best of both worlds, it was the worst of both worlds. And of course, you've probably heard all those stories already, so I won't go too far into that. I was really pleased to see that Windows 8.1 took away the charms in the upper right-hand corner and added at least the impression of a start menu. It isn't really anything different, it's just a button that you click on the lower left to let you know what you're doing. They also gave you the ability to put your regular desktop background in the start menu, so it doesn't seem quite so scary when you do it. And maybe that's just a little thing, but it's something. And what it says is that Microsoft is listening. That's a good thing, and it's also a bad thing, and I'll explain why. The desktop idiom that we've been using for computers has been with us for about 30 years. That's a long time, and nobody is saying it's the best thing ever. It's just what we're all really comfortable with. So Microsoft tried to jump ahead and give people a new and interesting way to use computers at work. The problem is, it's too late. Most people really got very comfortable with Windows sometime between 1995 and 2002, and those habits are ingrained. You're not going to change that. And what that means is that Microsoft has gone from being a leading edge company back in the 80s and 90s to a company that has to provide support for its legacy customer base. See, what's funny is, even if you're the sort of person who likes to hack equipment and use the latest and greatest and download betas and just do all sorts of weird things with devices when you're at home, most of the time when you're at work, you just want to get work done. You want to write letters. You want to answer your emails. You just want it to be done. You're not interested in learning a whole new way of doing something. And that's what Microsoft didn't quite get. Now, Windows 8.1, or Windows Apology Edition, addresses all of that. And it does so fairly effectively. You could take somebody from Windows XP to Windows 8.1 pretty easily, and for the most part, they wouldn't have to relearn a lot of stuff. It's a shame. It would have been even better if Microsoft had come up with something we really could have embraced, but they didn't. And it's a good thing that they backed off from it because, honestly, it's hard to say how close they are to collapse, but it sure seems like things are really going bad for them this year. Their SkyDrive service hasn't been as popular as Google Drive or Dropbox. Their Windows 8 experience was, of course, really terrible. Their Surface tablet, I'm tongue-tied because there's nothing good to say about it. It doesn't run older Windows apps, and it doesn't run a whole bunch of other apps either. So what are you going to do with it? It was expensive, and all I can do is apologize and sympathize if you actually bought one. Microsoft built a great game system with Xbox 360, so great that they didn't need to change it for 7 years. Now when they tried to come up with the latest and greatest Xbox One, people are rejecting it. Why? Because it puts too many restrictions on a community that is used to being able to share things and give things to others whenever they want to. Folks, Microsoft is not the only company to have its highs and lows. There was a time you couldn't live without an IBM typewriter. There was a time that every office needed a Xerox machine, and there was a time that 70% of Americans drove General Motors cars. There's a time for everything. Companies go up and companies go down, and Microsoft may still have some fight left in it, but it's time for Microsoft to realize and embrace its new role as supporting millions and millions and millions of PCs that aren't glamorous, aren't exciting, but they're what people use in offices every day, and that's not a terrible thing. Now with Windows 8.1, it looks like they've come to the same conclusion. I congratulate Microsoft for what they've done. I still hope that they'll pull out something really, really visionary, but maybe they'll have to do that in a product that doesn't interfere with our ability to work. That's it for this week's Solid Signal podcast. If you have ideas for future podcasts, go ahead and click that Suggest a Topic button at the upper right-hand corner of the Solid Signal blog, blog.solidsignal.com. Until I see you next week, have a great one, and a great Independence Day. A lot of people have the day off. Enjoy a burger just for me.